Tonight I'm going to do a quick review on this Kobalt chainsaw. I needed a chainsaw to use around the house and around the farm, and I was looking at buying a new Stihl or maybe a Husqvarna, and I like both those. The problem is I'm tired of dealing with gas and oil, so I bought this Kobalt chainsaw. It's a 40-volt chainsaw. It uses a 4 amp-hour battery. So I said I was tired of dealing with oil and gas. This actually still has oil. It uses any sort of standard bar oil will do. So I didn't like mixing my oil and gas together in the other chainsaws I had. I was really tired of that, and I've been watching the electric saws for a while. The quality has gotten a lot better in them, so I decided to give it a try. I'm really happy with the chainsaw. There's some downfalls to it, some things I don't like about it. Overall, it's been a great saw, and I really put it through its paces the last couple of weeks. So what I started doing is, before I do a review now, I'll get a product and I'll use it for 3 or 4 weeks to see if I like it. So I took this chainsaw to the farm. I cut a lot of sweetgum saplings, cut some oak that was up to 12 inches in diameter. This is a 14-inch bar on the saw, and it did really good. So I thought I would go ahead and do a review. I'm not going to make a recommendation. I'll just tell you what I think, and you can make your own mind up. But I really like the saw. It did a great job, and I'll probably end up buying another one. They have an 80-volt version of this now. They also have a 24-volt version, but the 80-volt version only has a 2.5 amp-hour battery. So anyhow, it's a good saw. I'm probably going to buy another one. So let's talk about what I like about it and what I don't like about it, and let me give you some idea of what it's capable of. So to get started, as I said, this has a 4 amp-hour battery. This is the max. It's got a lithium-ion battery, and that's a fairly hefty battery. When you buy the saw, you get the saw, the battery, of course, and the charger. Now, there's a lot of these saws on Lowe's website that don't have the battery or charger. So if you're going to buy one, if you order it online, make sure you get one that's got a battery and a charger. If you want to buy just the battery by itself, this battery is $179. I was going to buy another one until I saw how much it was, and I said, well, I may wait and catch it on sale. If you buy the charger by itself, the charger is $89. So, and I noticed a lot of the Lowe's stores don't have the charger in stock. You can only order it online. So when you first get it, your battery is not charged up, or mine wasn't. So you have to put it in your charger, and it's real easy. It just snaps in just like this. And once you put it on the charger, the green light starts blinking, and you know it's charging. So, and you can just pull it out. There's no catch to hold it in or anything like that. So to put the battery in the saw, now notice when you put the battery in the charger, the battery's upside down, okay? When you put the battery in the saw, the battery is right side up, and it goes in just like that, and it clicks in place. If you want to remove the battery, you use your right hand, your thumb goes above the battery, and there's a little catch, and when you push it, it pops right out just like that. So with the battery and everything installed, I think the chainsaw was like 18 pounds, something like that. It's not uncomfortable to use at all, and it's well balanced. So let me show you this. So just to show how well balanced it is, if I take this string and I lift it up, the chainsaw is fairly well balanced. Now, I've had other chainsaws. I've had a couple of Stihl chainsaws, had a Husqvarna chainsaw that were not balanced as good as this, and that makes it easy to use if it's balanced, because you're going to use it like this, you're going to use it like that, you're going to cut stuff from the top, from the bottom, and you want something that's really well balanced, and I think they did a pretty good job of this. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this. First off, I tried to find a case for it. I could not find a case that would fit this. The saw is about 31 inches long from the tip to the very back. It's roughly 8 to 10 inches wide. I didn't measure it. I don't know the exact width, but I could find a case that the width would fit in. The problem is a case that, and I could find a case that was long enough. The problem is a case that would fit the main body. You have this that sticks up, the handle that sticks up, which that's a very comfortable handle. I really like that handle, even though it is plastic. Then you have this hump that sticks up right here. I couldn't find a case that this piece would stick into, so what I'm probably going to do is get a toolbox and keep it in a toolbox. So when you get it, you also get a blade guard that comes on it, which is plastic. And I understand this is pretty much useless, but I understand the purpose. The purpose is to keep you from accidentally cutting something with your blade. That's a safety device, really, because that blade is pretty sharp. Even after about 60 cuts, this new blade I bought is still pretty sharp. So it's got a lock on it. You normally when you get it out of the box, it's locked. So when the lock is pushed, this piece right here is the lock. When it's pushed forward, let me show you. You cannot turn on the saw. It will not turn on. If you pull it backwards to you, then what you have to do is push in the button right there. The button's only on the left side of the saw. You push the button in and then pull the handle and the saw cuts. So you got two safety features there. You got the lock and you got the button you got to push in. And I'm sort of surprised they didn't put the button on both sides. Anyhow, those are the safety features. Again, when the lock is forward, you can push that button and the saw will not crank. So that's a good feature. All right, let's put this back on. So let's talk about the saw. So the saw has a brushless motor, and a brushless motor means it has better wear and tear time. Like the brushless motors don't have as much wear and tear as motors with brushes. They don't wear out as fast. So the motor should last a long time. So let me throw something in here that I forgot. Pause the video for a minute so I can show you something. There's actually a charge monitor on the battery. If you push the little button right there at the edge of my finger, you see the green light light up. That means there's one bar, means it's like about 10 to 15% charged. So the charger takes about 2.5 hours to fully charge it. So I wish there were a light on top of the saw that would show you how much battery you have left, and here's why. And it's because of what happened to me. I started cutting a piece of oak that was probably 8 to 10 inches. You'll see it in the video. I think it was 8 to 10 inches in diameter. And I got the saw down in the oak tree, which was laying on the ground, and the saw died. Okay, so I had to forcibly pull the saw out, which loosened my chain. So if there were an indicator on there, and you know, nobody's going to think to, okay, let's look at the bottom, let's push this button and see how much battery we have left. Nobody's going to do that. They should have put a light up here somewhere, or maybe on the handle to show you how much battery you have. If my brother had not been with me, I could not have gotten the saw out, because this oak tree, you know, several hundred pounds, is on the ground. There's no way I could have picked up the oak tree and pulled the saw out. So the saw got jammed in there. So that's the danger of the battery dying on the saw. So you gotta think to look at that battery indicator on the back of the saw, push it periodically and see. Also, before I get too far into it, let's talk about the warranty for a second, because when you get this saw, you also get these manuals. You get a battery manual, a saw manual, and a charger manual with it, and they all have the same warranty information that I'm going to read to you. It says the guarantee does not cover damage due to abuse, normal wear, improper maintenance, neglect, unauthorized repair, expendable parts or accessories, expected to become unusable after a reasonable period of use. So essentially what that means is all they're warrantying is the plastic. That's about it. So the batteries are going to wear out after normal wear and tear, and I spoke to the manager at my local Lowe's and talked to him about it, and he said, yeah, they're not going to warranty the batteries. You can have the batteries replaced in this, but it's cheaper just to buy a new battery pack, which is $179. So because the batteries normally wear out after so many charge and discharge and charge and discharge cycles, you know, after probably 100 or so, the batteries are going to wear out, just like any other sort of rechargeable batteries. On the saw, the actual electric motor is probably not going to fall into warranty, because it's going to wear out from normal wear and tear, which means essentially what they're guaranteeing is they'll replace the plastic piece. Okay, so let's talk about the battery and how long it'll last. So I'm gonna, let me say again, this is a 4 amp hour battery. You can get a cheaper battery that's not lithium ion, that is not 4 amp hours. They sell a 2.5 amp hour battery. They claim that with 4x4 fir wood, you can get about 150 cuts. That's not what I got. I was cutting sweet gum saplings that were about as big around as my arm, plus some oak that was roughly between 4 inches and 10 inches in diameter. I think I cut some that was 12 inches. I got 98 cuts before my battery died. And when the battery died, the saw got stuck in the wood. So that's a problem. So you gotta pay attention to it. So if you're gonna do any sort of serious work, I'd recommend go ahead and buy a second battery. I want to say one more thing about the saw battery. So when the saw battery dies, it's done. You don't get any warning telling you that the battery's about to die. It doesn't gradually slow down. There's no beep. It just stops, just like that. So when my battery died the first time, I was in a piece of oak that was probably 10 inches wide, and the saw was probably 6 to 8 inches down into the tree when it stopped. And if my brother had not been with me, I could not have pulled the saw out, because as you cut a piece of wood, it starts to sag and the gap closes together, and the blade got sandwiched in the gap. So we had to lift the tree up. He had to lift the tree up while I pulled the saw out. So if I let the saw in, let's say I had another battery that I stuck in the saw does not have enough power to continue on from where it stopped if it's in a jam. So if it's in the tree and the tree is starting to close together, and your gap in the tree where you sawed starts to get tighter and your blade is in a bind, the saw will not pick up where it started off. You're just stuck. You're going to have to get your battery out. So, I mean, you're going to have to pull your saw blade out. So the thing is, if you're going to saw something thicker than, just a few inches, you need to check your battery indicator to make sure you have enough battery power to get all the way through. Otherwise, your saw may just end up stuck. Here's some things I don't like about it. So when you first get it, your bar and your chain are not on it. So you unscrew it like that. You pull that off, and you can see I've been using it, all my sawdust came out. And then you can take your bar and your chain off. And this thing is tough to get in place and get hooked up just right. So it takes a minute or two to get the hang of it. Anyhow, you can put this back on and you can tighten it up, and you have to be careful when you do that, because you can over tighten it. And if you over tighten it, then your chain is going to be so tight it won't work. Come on, get back on there. See, this thing is tough to get in place and get it going. So, all right, I got it back on. So, yeah, it looks right. So you can also tighten your chain tension right here with this little thing right there. So you turn it up and it tensions your chain. You turn it down and it relieves the tension on your chain. So when I turn it down, you can see I can pull my chain up more. And when I tighten it, if I turn it up, it pulls the chain in tighter. And also, if you tighten this down too much, this won't work too well. So that's not really a perfect design. So what I do is I loosen it a little bit, I tighten my chain up, I test it, and then I tighten it down. So when you tighten it, see, your chain stays where you adjusted it to. And this is tough to get just right. I worked with this a lot, trying to figure it out and get it just right, and just could not get it to a really comfortable point. So usually what I do is I tighten it up about midway, and then I'll adjust my tension. And this thing's hard to turn too, but all saws are like that. So that's about right now. And when you first get it, your chain is going to stretch, so it's okay to have it a little bit tighter. Make sure you don't forget to put your oil in, because your oil is what lubricates the chain. But as you use it, your chain's going to stretch and get a little bit looser, so you may have to adjust this. So just keep your eye on this. So one of the things I found is that this screw that holds the bar and the chain in place kept vibrating loose. And no matter how much I tightened this up, it would vibrate loose. I think after we worked with it for 4 or 5 hours for one day, and I had to retighten it probably 6 or 7 times. I noticed it kept coming unscrewed. So I looked online, and apparently a lot of people have had that problem. So this probably is a downfall of it, I would have to say, because this thing comes unscrewed. So you got to keep your eye on it. One time I was going to cut with a saw, and the bar, this whole panel came off, and the bar actually fell on the ground. So just keep your eye on that. Okay, so let me show you this. So this is the first bar and chain that I had with a chainsaw, and this is the one that came with it. So you may notice my chain won't sit down in the bar. So I had done about 30 cuts when this problem happened. I was cutting sweet gum saplings, and all of a sudden the chain got jammed up. It came off the saw right here, and it got stuck sort of crooked on the end of the bar. So the problem here is the chain and the bar. I looked at it pretty good. I tried to fix it, could not fix it. Ended up buying a new chain and a new bar, which together were about $56 plus chains, say 60 bucks. The problem is the quality of the bar is not what you would get when you buy a steel chainsaw or Husqvarna or one of the other major brand names. It's cheaper metal, and that's probably the biggest downside I think there is to the saw. Even worse than the fact that this thing comes unscrewed. Because if you've only got this one bar and you don't live, you know, close to a store that sells these saws or sells bars or chains, you can't get any work done. I looked at some other 14-inch bars, and you can get a different brand 14-inch bar that will fit on this and a different chain, which I'm probably going to be doing. I'm probably going to go and buy a steel bar to put on here. So if you notice, let me see if I can spin it right. Well, let's see if I can do this. Normally it should just flow right over, but it walks out right here because right along in here, the bar actually bent. It's impossible to see it, but the bar actually has bent in places, and it has aberrations where the metal, it looks like, just came apart. And the teeth on the chain, where the chain goes in the bar, I have the same problem. So I tried to fix this chain. I could not get this chain to work with this bar either. So I think this chain and this bar are a complete loss, which I really don't like. And I went back to Lowe's and I talked to my local Lowe's store where I bought this, and they pretty much said, well, you know, too bad. Do you want to return the whole saw? And by then I had already bought the new bar and the new chain. I said, no, I don't. And mostly because they didn't have another saw in stock. If they'd had another one, I would have probably said, yeah, you know, let me take this back to the other Lowe's where I bought it, and you just give me my money back on this saw and I'll get a different saw. But I don't really like that. You see, if I try and spin this around, how it tends to buckle out down there, and that's the problem. So the quality you get on the bar and the chain is not going to be the same quality you get from a steel chainsaw. So just don't expect it. So anyhow, now I'm going to do some video of cutting wood. I got some video at the farm, some video. We had a couple of storms here last week, really bad storms, so we had trees down. So I got some video cutting up wood for my neighbor. So let's see what it looks like when it cuts wood. These two trees fell at the same time. Right. So that 14-inch Kobalt 40-volt chainsaw took care of these pretty good. So that one is about that big. This one is about that big. That's a good 10 inches. Well, okay, so I've been counting. I got 98 cuts from a full battery. I thought I may get 150. I guess I was hoping for too much, but I was cutting a lot of oak. But anyhow, it's been good so far. So I think I'm done cutting. There's no way I'm gonna get the rest of it out because Mr. Saw is complete. Actually, it may not be dead. Let's see. Maybe the battery's got an afterlife.
You'll let it cool off for about 10 minutes. It'll charge. It'll self corrects itself a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point. My brother just said the battery's probably hot. It needs to cool off. The battery is really, really hot. All right, we're gonna try and finish that last cut. All right, everybody give me a show of hands. Who thinks I can do it? All right. Another 5 minutes, it's been cooling. Let's knock it out. Come on, Saw. Show me what you got. All right, it's done. Anybody want firewood? Come and get it. Go ahead. The line's coming out. There you go. A little bit more. Hang on. You're digging in the ground back there. All right, all right. Okay, that's good. That's the line out.
There you go. Pull it far back as you can, hook it, and I'll drag it.
There we go. All right, go ahead. All right. Okay, now we can cut.
couple cuts just like that, and then we'll roll it over and finish cutting.
All right, that one behind me's got to come down because it's going to fall probably not too long either. Let's take it down. There we go.
I've been willing to make sure you can run that direction. Hang on a minute.
I got it.
No. Okay.
My blade's coming loose.
It's stretching things.
This came unscrewed. See what I did? Okay, so that's it. If you watched this far in the video, then you saw me cut the wood at the farm. I've cut oak, I've cut some willow, a lot of willow. I've cut a lot of sweet gum saplings. Overall, the chainsaw does a great job. I'm not going to make a recommendation to buy this. I just want to give you the information if you're considering buying one, or if you need an electric chainsaw, this is an option. So this was $239 plus tax. For that, you get the chainsaw, the battery, and the charger. So you notice I've got 2 bars here. I've got one on the saw and the extra one. This is the original bar and original chain. After I used it for 30 minutes, the bar and the chain were damaged, and I only cut sweet gum saplings. So I think if you're going to buy one of these, go ahead and plan on buying an extra bar and an extra chain. So that's going to put your price at about $300. Now, if you compare this to a Stihl brand 14-inch chainsaw or Husqvarna, this is still going to be about $140 below their starting price on that same saw with the same size battery. This is a 4 amp hour battery. So anyhow, it's a good saw. If you're not using your saw, make sure that you keep your lock pushed forward so it stays locked. Keep your guard on here so you don't accidentally snag this on your leg or something and cut yourself. Also, if you're using a chainsaw, please wear your safety glasses. It's a good idea to keep a couple of pairs of gloves around. I was cutting wood for one of the neighbors the other day, and I didn't realize till too late that they had poison ivy on the wood, so now my hands have a poison ivy rash. Anyhow, also, if you're not accustomed to using a chainsaw and you're not like a chainsaw expert, maybe consider wearing a pair of chaps. This is Stihl brand chaps. These hook around your waist and actually go around your legs, and always wear long pants when you're using a chainsaw. So anyhow, that's it. It's a good quality chainsaw. I'm still pretty happy with it. I was apprehensive because it was Kobalt brand, but it's done a pretty good job. So also on my YouTube channel, which is what this is, I've got about 60 videos. We do a lot of stuff at the farm. I do a lot of reviews. I build a lot of stuff. I built this workbench, which is a roll-around workbench, and the plans are on the YouTube channel. So if you're looking for something else to watch, just check it out. And as always, please send me comments or questions. Thanks a lot.